What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Music with Mike. Today I want to talk to you a little bit about resampling. Now, resampling is something that we can do to take, you guessed it, samples that we already have in our song and use them in a different way by adding effects and playing around with them and then using them to fill space. Basically to create ear candy. So what I mean by this is that instead of searching Splice for, say, impacts, risers, pads, atmospheres, things like that, we're going to create them from elements that are already in the song. And this has the added benefit not only of saving us time searching for new samples that fit, they will already sound like they fit because they're already elements that are in the track. And I'm going to give you some examples today with a song that I'm working on, and I used resampling several times throughout the song to bring it together. So let's dive into Ableton and take a look. Okay, so here's a little Latin house track I'm working on. Now I'm going to play the intro, which is about 16 bars, and I used a few instances of resampling. So we're going to listen to it, and then I'm going to go back, show you what I did, and then I'm going to show you how to do it yourself. So let's give this a quick listen. Okay, now let's go back and take a look at all the different instances of resampling that I did. So in the first instance of resampling in this intro, I've got this little riser I've created here. I'm going to let you listen to it soloed. Here, take a listen to this. Okay, so it's kind of both an atmosphere, pad, and riser. And if you listen to it in context, it sounds like this. So it's really subtle. It's not a main element. It's taking up space in the background and filling out the song. It's pulling us into the next section. And in order to do this, first, we need to find a sample to resample. And usually you're going to do this with your vocals. So I have this vocal here that I found on Splice. Let's give this a quick listen.
Tú, nadie como tú, hace que te quiera, ven, apaga la luz. Tú, hace que te quiera, ven, apaga la luz.
So that's a nice vocal sample. And what you're going to want to do first is create a new audio track. And then over here where it says external input, we're going to change it to resampling. So now what this is doing, instead of taking the input from your mic or your sound card or audio interface, it's taking audio from Ableton. So whatever is being sent to the master in Ableton can now be recorded into this track. So if I set this to record and I just solo and play this vocal and record it, it's going to re-record this vocal.
Tú, nadie como tú, hace que te quiera, ven, apaga la luz.
So you can see it recorded that down here. Now let's listen to that.
Tú, nadie como tú.
Great. So now you might ask, like, oh, why do I need to re-record this vocal? Well, this vocal track has a bunch of effects on it. So when you resample and record through your resampling track, you're not only recording the audio file that you pulled into this track, but you're also recording all the effects that went after it. So all of my EQs, all of my reverb and delay is going to be recorded into a new audio file. So how does this apply to the little riser atmosphere I created? What we're going to do is we're going to create another audio track here, and we're going to pull part of the original vocal track onto this audio track. And usually you want to try and isolate some sort of vowel sound, A, E, I, O, U. So let's take a listen here. The first vocal is tu, so it's got the oo sound in it, and I want to isolate that. So I'm going to go ahead and turn my grid off. I'm going to copy this down to this track. We'll solo it. So now we've got...
Tú,
Great. But we don't want the T. We just want the oo sound because it's smooth. So I'm just going to isolate this. Let's listen to this. I'm going to make it a little bit longer. There we go. So now we've kind of got this full oo sound, but we need to kind of create length to this because this isn't long enough to create, a 4-bar riser. So what do? We're going to put a reverb on it. So let me find my reverb here. I like to use Valhalla Vintage Verb. It's my reverb of choice, but you can use whatever you want. We just need to create a long reverb tail. So let's see. And we're going to make it 100% wet. And we're going to we want a long tail, so I'm going to increase the length of the reverb because we're going to end up cutting it in the end anyway. So let's give this a listen now. Great, so you can kind of hear that, the reverb in the background after the initial sound. That's going to get recorded into our resampling track. So here, I'm already armed to record on my resampling track, and I have this soloed because we only want this track. We only want to record this one. We don't want to record everything else that's in here. So let's go ahead and get started, and let's record this. And you can see in real time, it's recording that. Okay, so let's stop it. And now let's listen to our resample track. Sounds just like it. Great. So now what we want to do is, let's say we're going to do a 4-bar riser. So I'm going to go ahead. We're going to get rid of this initial sound. We don't want the actual voice. We just want the reverb tail that has that ooh sound that matches our singer's voice. So here we go. We're going to make it just this long. Let's make it this long. And now we've got... Okay, very mellow, like an atmosphere. Now we're going to go ahead and reverse this. And you can do this by double-clicking your clip here, going down to your clip options, and there's a little button right here that has arrows pointing in different directions. If you click this, it'll take your audio file and it will reverse it. So watch what happens when I click this. Now, the tail actually starts here and gets louder as opposed to getting softer. So let's listen to it now. So you're starting to see how we can use this as a riser, as an atmosphere. We can also kind of make it a little more impactful by dragging the clip volume like this to create that curve. So it's going to be a little more soft to loud. There we go. And then now, after doing that, you can add whatever effects, your room reverb, your delays, you can EQ it, you can do whatever you want to this. But now you've got this kind of riser that already sounds like it belongs in your song because it's taken from the vocals. All right, so the next instance of resampling in this intro is this little stutter effect here. I'm going to solo it and play it for you really quick, and then we'll listen to it in context. Here we go. Great. So now the way I got this was by taking, again, a piece of the vocal and recording it, resampling it in the vowel shape. You can hear that one's kind of like an ah. We're going to reuse our tu and create an oo stutter, but you can do whatever vowel you can get your hands on from your vocal sample. So let's go ahead and solo our little tu cutout with the reverb on it, and I'm going to go ahead and bring this up here so it's easier to see. There we go. And we're going to record it into our resampling track. So let's give this another go. Okay, so we've got our resample material here. What we're going to do is isolate a steady portion of this ooh sound. So let's see what this sounds like this. Cool. So now we've kind of got this washed out ooh sound. And I'm going to go ahead and then open up the clip and go into the sample editor here. And where it says complex, I'm going to change this to beats. So we're changing the algorithm that processes our audio samples here. And where it says transients, I'm going to change it to 1/16. Here in this drop down with the arrows, I'm going to choose the top one with the arrow pointing to the right. And then I'm going to take this 100, click and drag it down to 0. Now let's give this a listen. I'm going to go ahead and loop this. Okay, so you can hear now it sounds like a 16th note line. Now you can go ahead, if you want a little bit more of the vowel to come out in each hit, you can take that 0, we turn the 100 to 0, and find a sweet spot in the middle. Let's go up to like 20 something, 30 something. Let's try here, 20, 26. Okay, so now you can start to hear how it's sounding like what I had at the beginning. Now, because the vocal sample is obviously already in the key of the song, we probably don't need to change this, but if you wanted to pitch this up or down, you could with the transpose knob here to make it play a different note. We're also going to side chain it. If you're not familiar with side chaining, Google's your best friend, or I will come out with a video soon regarding side chaining, but if you can't wait, Google or YouTube how to side chain. There's a lot of information about it. Side chaining is the act of ducking the volume of one element underneath another one. So this is most commonly done to the kick drum. So what we're going to do, there are different ways to do this. I use a plugin called Kickstart. I'm going to open up Kickstart, and now you can see what's going to happen is because I have it synced to my track, it's going to duck the volume at the beginning of every quarter note. You could also duck it to every time your kick hits if you wanted to, but I'm going to just sync it to the track for this example, and now we're going to listen to it. It's going to sound a little different. So that's where our kick would be hitting, is where the volume of this ducks. If we go back and listen to the introduction, I'm going to solo our stutter. And then I'm also going to solo the kick so you can hear how it interacts. If I turn the side chain off, it sounds a little different. Yeah, it doesn't sound nearly as good. So that's how I make that little stutter effect, and that's good for filling space, especially in intros, and adding all kinds of reverb and delay to them can make them really neat. I even put an auto pan on here to make it go from the left ear to the right ear to the left ear to the right here. It's a really nice way to take these elements and make them fill even more space and give them more movement. Now, the last instance of me resampling in the introduction is this little turnaround here. So I'm going to solo this. Actually, let's listen to it in context, and then I'll go back and solo it. Let's give this a quick listen here. Okay, I'm going to solo it so you can hear it. You can tell it's already part of the vocal, but you're going to hear other elements with it. Great, so you can hear this is also side chained, but there's more to this than just the vocals. So what I did was I resampled a later section of the song where the vocals are playing along with the my cha-cha band here. So let's give this a listen. So that's the part that I resampled. And what I did was I soloed my cha-cha band and I soloed my vocals. And I've got my resampling track here ready to go. I'll delete this stuff for now. And we're going to record the last few bars of this breakdown section here. Okay, so I kind of made a longer recording than I needed to, so I'm going to shorten this to just the ending part here, and we're going to solo and listen to our resampled track. Great. And now I wanted to use it as almost like a riser. So what I did, all I really did was take this, the volume marker here, to make it start soft and build. I even, on the original, let's go take a look at the original track that I did this on. Yeah, I EQ'd it quite heavily. I cut out all the low end, I cut out some of the high end, and then, yes, I added sidechain here. So can listen to it with and without sidechain. Let's give this a listen without the sidechain with the track. It doesn't sound that bad, but it sounds much better with the sidechain. It kind of gives us that desired pumping effect. It gives this track energy, and you can decide whether or not you want to use sidechain as an effect to create a pumping effect like that, or you can use it just to get something temporarily out of the way of another element. Like I said, I'll make another video about that later on. So those are the 3 instances of resampling that I used in my introduction, but I also used it later in the song right before the drop with my kick drum. And this is a really common thing to do in most styles of house or electronic music, where you take your kick sample and then we reverse it, like I showed you how to do earlier in this video, to reverse the clip by hitting those arrows in the clip editor down here. And that'll basically reverse your kick. And this just looks like that, a reversed kick. Now, in this sample, I cut out the transient, the attack of the kick, because I don't want to hear that during this part. I just want to hear this. This is what it sounds like without coming into the actual kick. It just kind of sounds like I call it a whip. You can call it whatever you want, but it sounds like whoop. And this is used to great effect in a lot of songs. So I'm going to go ahead and play the drop of this song without it and then with it, and you can decide which one sounds better. Here it is without it. So that doesn't sound bad, but when we add that kick whip back in, here's what it sounds like. Yeah, I really like that. It kind of pulls us into the next section with a lot of energy. So that wraps up my lesson on the basics of resampling. I hope you learned something. If you already know how to resample and you have something you'd like to add, please leave it in the comments for everybody else. If you have any questions, if you want to know more, leave that in the comments as well on your way down there. Make sure to like and subscribe. And until next time.